56%, the highest yet of his presidency, according to a new Gallup poll. This coming as unemployment numbers reach near 50-year lows.
Wow, Americans like it. So how will the president maintain these strides moving forward? Joining us now to weigh in is Wall Street Journal editor-at-large and host of Wall Street Journal at Large on Fox Business Network, Gerry Baker. Hey, Gerry, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Great, thank you. So a few months ago, we were worried about recession. Not anymore. Americans love this.
Yeah, the economy is in very good shape. I mean, and remember, this is 10 years now into an expansion. In July, this expansion, which began obviously at the end of the recession that we had after the financial crisis, in July it'll be 10 years old, which means it'll be coming up to the longest expansion in American history. And what's curious and interesting, and very good news for Donald Trump, is that normally at this stage, when you're very long into an expansion, you're seeing some real signs of stress in the economy. You're seeing inflation picking up, you're seeing all kinds of potential weakness out there, which might create a recession. Right now, you're just not seeing that. The economy is in good shape. There's no signs of really strong inflation. Unemployment is at a 50-year low. We had the strongest rate of growth last year that we've had in the last in more than a decade. So things are really looking pretty good.
You're right. We've been hearing those dire predictions. It's got to slow down. Recession, maybe housing. Why has it stayed so robust?
Well, so there are a number of areas of potential concern. Housing is one of them. That people still worry about what may happen to trade if we don't get a deal with China. Look, the reason is the economy it's taken a long time to come back from the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, which was a disaster for the economy. And we had throughout the last 10 years, most of the last 10 years under President Obama, we had relatively weak growth. So that didn't create the kind of stresses that you often see at a time for the economy. In the last year or so, thanks in part to the tax cuts that we had, thanks also to some of stronger growth around the world and some of the other things I think that President Trump has done here, such as some deregulation and some pro-business measures, the economy's actually accelerated in the last year. We've actually had the strongest rate of growth last year that we've had in a time. So again, things can go wrong, and you could see, for example, some concerns about housing, some concerns about whether or not the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates. But right now, things are looking as good as they've looked in a while.
On paper, these numbers are excellent. So why aren't more people on board with this president and this administration?
Well, he's got a very high approval rating in terms of the economy. 56% is very good, better than President Obama had through most of his time in office. I mean, there are other issues that people worry about. People are concerned about some of the issues, international issues. They're concerned about some of the domestic politics. I think healthcare is a big issue, and I think that's why the Democrats did so well, for example, last year in the midterm elections. So there are all kinds of concerns, and some people don't like the president's tone and some of the things he says. But if the economy is key, Bill Clinton famously said, it's the economy, stupid. If the economy is going to drive the way people feel about the country and the state of the country, and it usually does, then things are pretty good. And there's no sign right now that that's going to weaken over the next year.
Yeah, bottom line, we were told that slow growth was the new normal. It just wasn't going to happen this way anymore. And President Trump said, we're going to make America great again. We can achieve 3-4%. Here we are year over year, 3.1% growth.
Yeah, we may not get 3% was a good year by recent standards. That's what we had roughly last year. And that is, and by the way, one particularly striking feature of that is how strong manufacturing has been. Now, we've been thinking for a long time manufacturing was in decline, other countries were rising, companies were maybe relocating abroad, there was a lot of opportunity overseas, but American manufacturing is growing again. Look, there are some worries out there on the horizon. The economy probably won't grow as fast this year as it did last year. The trade stuff has to be, it has to be dealt with. But right now, the economy is set fair as well as it's been for a long time.
Good stuff.
Thanks, Gerry.
Gerry Baker, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.